In the near future, the mining spaceship Borealis is flying across space. The whole crew is sleeping in cryopods because they still have 4 years left to arrive at their destination. Suddenly an asteroid hits the ship, causing enough damage to raise the alarm. In a pod, Andy is startled awake by a video of his family, who are still on Earth. The ship's AI announces there's been a hull breach and the survival system has been activated. A bunch of mechanical arms start building a special suit around Andy, which includes a limited oxygen supply and its own AI. Then the emergency launch is activated and all the cryopods are ejected from the Borealis. Most of them fly away safely, but a couple get caught in the fire as small explosions start going off on different sections of the spaceship. The robot arms finish building a helmet around Andy's head before the cryopods fire up the thrusters. However, when they enter the atmosphere of the nearest planet, the gravitational pull is so strong that the cryopods start falling at dangerous speed. Some of them even catch on fire and explode on the way down. Andy's pod opens its wings, but they start breaking and the pod loses its thrusters. Suddenly it hits some elevated terrain and it crashes, sliding down the hard land for a few seconds until it finally stops against a pile of dirt. An unconscious Andy sees a quick vision of his family before waking up and the AI thinks he's having a heart attack, but Andy deactivates the defibrillator just in time. He looks out the window and notices he's stuck in a deserted land. When he tries the radio, nobody answers. Suddenly the pod moves and the AI explains they're on unstable terrain, so he needs to leave. However, when he tries to open the pod, nothing happens. Then Andy checks the survival kit, only to discover he doesn't have a flare gun because his rank is low. Kicking the door doesn't do anything either, so Andy tries with the fire extinguisher, which finally breaks the glass. As he tries to get out, the pod rolls on its side and he falls back inside. The broken glass damages his suit in the process and he starts losing oxygen. Thankfully he has a repair spray that quickly closes the tear. At that moment the engine short circuits and starts a small fire behind the seat. Andy hurries to grab his son's toy and moves some dirt to finally get out of the pod, which is now under heavy smoke. He looks around and notices the Borealis on fire falling from the sky until it crashes on the planet, causing a huge explosion. The resulting shockwave hits Andy and makes him fall. He recovers quickly and asks the AI for some information, discovering that the ship only made it halfway through the journey and that he's on unmapped territory. There's a light in the distance, so Andy starts making his way there while trying to contact others on the radio. After walking for a while, he finds half of the Borealis on fire in a pod nearby. He checks inside to grab the oxygen tank and is startled by the falling body of a fellow crew member. When he takes a closer look, he discovers the oxygen tank's broken. Andy then leaves without noticing the blood and slashes on top of the pod. Minutes later, Andy finds a bunch of SOS lights surrounded by a very strong wind. This has been set up by Dwayne, who has retrieved some equipment and is already considering getting meat from the bodies for food. He managed to look at the nav log before the crash and learned that the company took a shortcut through an asteroid belt to save fuel, which is why they are on an unknown area. Dwayne is trying to use the equipment to send an SOS message to Earth that will take 8 months to arrive, and if the rescuers use a fast ship they'll be here in around 2 years. Andy is starting to lose hope, but Dwayne points out they may find the means to survive in the other half of the Borealis. When he steps back, Andy accidentally unplugs the machine and turns around to fix it. At that moment a mysterious creature jumps in and captures Dwayne, leaving without a trace. When Andy finally turns again, he's alone. After sending the message to Earth, Andy takes Dwayne's gun and the AI reminds him his oxygen levels are low. Andy asks it to set a route to the biggest Borealis piece and starts walking while continuously checking the radio to find other survivors. Eventually he reaches the edge of a cliff and the AI admits its system isn't working well. He thinks about his family while screaming in frustration until he hears a noise on the radio. It's another survivor called Naomi. The signal isn't very good and Andy runs around until he can hear her without static. Naomi is stuck in her pod and she's searched for the crew's trackers, but sadly the only survivors are her, Andy, and Dwayne. She sends Andy her location, but the AI warns him that her area is unstable and Andy may not have enough oxygen to reach it. Andy hesitates to take such a risk, so Naomi convinces him by pointing out she has enough oxygen for both of them. For the next few hours, Andy does nothing but walking while chatting with Naomi. Suddenly Andy hears a weird noise and asks his AI to scan the area, but that function isn't working. When Naomi hears the name of the model, she confirms that AI is supposed to be discontinued and this is another thing the company did to save money regardless of their crew's safety. It's nighttime by now and Andy has to be careful while he walks because his helmet lights isn't very strong. He freezes when he thinks he sees something, but he blames it on his imagination and keeps going. Seconds later, he notices rocks rolling near his feet and gets nervous because there are more noises, not seeing a shadow watching him from above. At that moment he finds strange holes in the ground and follows them until he finds a bigger hole covered in cobweb, which makes him realize the little holes are paw prints. Andy panics and keeps on walking as fast as possible, noticing more and more cobwebs in the area. Soon it starts snowing and Andy notices that the noises sound more like growling now. Something big runs nearby and Andy immediately hides while turning off his helmet lights. Naomi is surprised because her scanner shows a bunch of crew trackers moving toward him, but none of them are responding. Andy makes the AI link to those trackers and the signals appear around him at the same time. Naomi says they're right in front of him, but he can't see anything. A flare is shot in the air and the light reveals a giant spider nearby. Since it ate the crew, it has the trackers in its stomach. Since Dwayne's gun isn't working, Andy screams and starts running only for the spider to try to jump on him. He ends up falling into a crack in the ground, and when he looks up, the creature is trying to reach inside. A terrified Andy continues to run while the spider follows him from above and occasionally reaches in to slash him. Thankfully Andy dodges all the attacks, however he's distracted by the monster and ends up falling from the edge of a cliff. Rolling down at such a speed is quite painful, but at least the snow cushions his landing. The spider roars at him from above yet doesn't come down. Andy keeps on freaking out after such an experience, and Naomi interrupts him to point out his oxygen levels are dropping. It turns out the fall has made another tear on his suit, so Andy hurries to seal it with the spray. He manages to close it off by using all the spray he has left. At that moment Dwayne's voice appears in the radio asking for help because he's fighting off a bunch of spiders. Naomi thinks Andy should help him, but Andy doesn't want to fight monsters and his scanner isn't even working well. However, he changes his mind when Naomi points out Dwayne will have oxygen. As Andy runs among the crashed pods, he sees the flares being shot by Dwayne and follows them to finally find him. Dwayne is about to share the monster's weakness when the spider jumps on him again, so Andy has to hide and hear on the radio how Dwayne is killed. He runs to hide behind a different pod hoping to escape, only to find a second monster nearby also feeding on bodies. Naomi activates the AI voice and lights in one of the pods, and one of the spiders is distracted by it, allowing Andy to run and hide inside another pod. Then Naomi tries to activate a different pod to distract the other creature, however she accidentally turns on the lights in Andy's and he's startled by a body. Thankfully she manages to activate all the other pods too, and now that both spiders are distracted, Andy can finally run away. Soon the monsters realize they were tricked and start following him, only to freeze when Andy enters a foggy area. After the spiders leave, Andy tells Naomi she should be finding a safe spot too, but Naomi can't feel her legs. She's starting to have a panic attack, so Andy sings the song he used to sing for his son to help her calm down. Afterward he keeps going and comes across a bunch of fireflies creating a beautiful view with their lights. One lands on his helmet and suddenly turns red to attack him. It can't do damage alone, but soon the other fireflies turn red as well and attack him together. Just running a bit is enough to leave them behind, however a growling sound indicates the fireflies were scared of something else. Suddenly the ground opens and a monster's giant mouth comes out to capture Andy, covering him with a nasty substance to keep him frozen in place. Andy is swallowed little by little until every inch of his body is inside the beast's mouth. Remembering the AI, Andy announces he's having a heart attack. The defibrillator is activated and the resulting electric shock is so strong that the monster spits Andy out. The creature is now pretty angry and coming for him, so Andy runs to hide inside something that looks like a tree trunk. There's a hole in the ground there, causing Andy to fall and end up in a firefly nest. The little aliens immediately turn red and start poking him while he runs, only leaving him alone when he manages to get out of the tunnel. Afterward the AI informs Andy that his current oxygen level will be enough to reach the Borealis but not likely to reach Naomi, who also thinks he should go to the ship. Andy refuses to give up now and keeps running in her direction. Soon he's surrounded by flames from the crash and he has so much trouble breathing that he falls. Gathering the strength to push through, Andy forces himself to move again and finally finds Naomi in her pod. She immediately opens the door to let him in and now he can breathe easily again. Next he tries to get her leg out but just his hands aren't strong enough. Thankfully since she's higher ranked her emergency kit has many tools and Andy can use one to get her unstuck. Naomi feels a bit of pain but at least the leg isn't broken. After taking a moment to rest, the duo grabs the flare gun and the repair spray and get going. The pain makes it hard for Naomi to walk, so Andy improvises a splint that helps her. While Naomi checks out Dwayne's gun, a horde of spiders slowly surrounds them. The duo immediately starts running and Naomi keeps asking her suit AI to inject her with medicine to keep her leg moving. As the spiders chase after them, Naomi and Andy make it to the other half of the Borealis, which seems to be in decent condition. The duo keeps running and Naomi falls, so Andy helps her slide down to go faster. The spiders are already getting closer to jump and the duo keeps pushing the crash debris to block the way behind them, only for them to fall as well. A spider is about to get them so Naomi shoots a flare, causing the monster to run after it. She shoots a second one to distract the other spiders too and now they can keep running up the hill until they finally enter the Borealis. Naomi is having trouble with the control panel and the spiders are getting closer, but when one is about to get in, she finally shuts it down and the door kills the creature. The other spiders begin pounding on the door while Naomi and Andy go to investigate. There is quite an amount of damage but the lights are working, meaning the backup generator is good. The cargo hold has boxes of supplies and a stabilized atmosphere, so they should be able to survive here until help comes. On a corridor there's a trail of blood and they follow it until they find the main console, which is covered in guts and cobweb. The duo hides when they see a big spider come in and open its stomach to drop even more human parts and even a helmet. Andy feels sick and forces himself to swallow the puke. Thankfully the spider leaves without seeing them and the duo tries to move, but suddenly a hatch from the ceiling opens for an even bigger monster to come out. Andy immediately closes the door for safety, yet Naomi scolds him, explaining now they're stuck in an airlock. As the spider starts pounding on the right door, Andy starts hitting the left one with a tool, but it's useless. They can only give up and sit to wait for their end. Andy plays a video of his family while telling Naomi that they died during a car crash, and now he deals with survivor guilt because he'd been driving. Naomi scolds him again and reminds him she's alive, thanks to him. Naomi and Andy hug thinking they're about to die, but at that moment Naomi finds an orb full of fireflies stuck on Andy's suit. When the spider finally breaks in, they throw the orb at it and the fireflies immediately attack the creature, making it back off. The duo presses a button on the main panel to open the other door and quickly run toward the cargo bay, only to stop when they discover they're on an elevated platform. The spider manages to get the fireflies off its body and comes after the humans, who can't close the door. They jump off the platform to dodge the attack and the spider lands on the cargo bay at the same time they do. It recovers very quickly and comes after them again, so Andy throws his spray right into its mouth. The monster bites it and the spray explodes on its face, giving the duo the chance to run. Afterward the spider runs on the ceiling to reach the humans faster and jumps to land right behind them. They both fall, but Naomi gets up quickly and runs to make the monster chase her, saying Andy must figure out a way to kill it. Noticing there still are pods in the cargo bay, Andy asks his AI to find a working one, which is on the very top. Andy climbs to the last line of pods as fast as possible and reaches the top platform at the same time Naomi is struck by the spider. Then Andy turns off the lights, giving Naomi the chance to climb inside a box without being seen. In that box she finds some emergency lights. When Andy tries to eject the pod, the AI explains it can't be done because he shut down the power, so his only option is to do it manually from inside. Andy gets into the pod and connects his AI to it while Naomi comes out of the box with the lights hanging around her body, which makes the spider go after her again. While looking at his son's toy, Andy says goodbye to his AI and waits for the right moment to eject the pod. A memory of the car crash goes through Andy's mind before the pod crashes on top of the monster, finally killing it. Naomi runs to Andy's body, crying because she thinks he's dead. But after lots of begging from her part, Andy wakes up perfectly alive and well. The duo then goes to the window and looks at the beautiful sunrise while holding hands.